What is up, guys? It's Flash back with some more charts, another video. It's Thursday, April 10, about 6:11 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do our normal video cadence today. I got all these tickers to go through. So let's get to it. We are looking at Bitcoin here on the daily time frame, and always we're going to start and end with the power law. And again, this is the Bitcoin Rainbow Wave 2023 indicator by Leo Hart. Look up Leo Hart on Twitter, on X. Great follow. He made this awesome indicator. He made it free for us to use. What a saint. And so here's what we're looking at. And I like to start out and end with Bitcoin on the Rainbow Wave, on the power law indicator, because if we put it in the regular time frame, that's log, this is regular. We're going to go on to the weekly. This is what the power law is saying lies ahead for Bitcoin. And this pretty much on a regular scale starts to just go straight to the moon, okay? Picture the moon up here, okay? And even beyond that. And so when you have this kind of perspective, a hard, sound money, 100% scarce, it just kind of, man, it just really rings true for me that this is, I think, going to play out, right? So we are right on the green line, which is the middle line that is the representation of the power law, the power trend in its truest form. And then you have these bubble phases and these bear market phases, and who's to say if that's going to keep playing out or not. I do think this middle green line, though, is going to continue to ring true. So again, every day, every week, the power law, Bitcoin, the network grows, the network gets stronger, the network gets more secure, and it's just a thing of beauty, right? So every day, just know that this green line is higher than it was the day before. And it's really helped me kind of think about, yep, there's been some downwards price action, but man, if we kind of squish this in, like this, the line is just going up. It's so up and to the right every single day. It's amazing. So again, it just blows my mind every time I look at it. So I have to bring it to you guys. But we'll go back on the daily, and we're going to remove the indicator, and we're left with just price action. Now we're going to add back our drawings, and as you can see, well, let me just add this back. Sorry. As you can see, we are kind of squeezing here. We're squeezing. Now we have a kind of a descending resistance line that is just clearer than it has been before, right? And when we add the sign line, again, we got the sign line from David F. at Trading Hearst on X. He does a lot of cycle analysis and waves and stuff that I am not smart enough to really understand. I'm trying to learn my best, but if we look at right here, April 8th, Tuesday, that was the bottom of this most recent cycle. And so now we're kind of in an up phase. If we match it, we're just like right here. We're 2 days after the 8th now. So we should, as Bitcoin has a kind of a 30-day cycle, I think that's like on the shortest time frame, 30 days is kind of where it's at right now. But we should start seeing price go to the upside, right, according to this cycle. And so as you can see, back on the 8th of March, we also were kind of in a bottom territory, right? But what we did was we kind of like on the up move, we kind of bear flagged, right? And then rolled over. And then we made our way down, right? And so now we're here, we're down here again. So what we want to see, I want to see some more explosive price action out of here, right? I don't necessarily want to see more sideways chop and then a continued move down, right? So what we want to see is like, we want to be out of here quick. So that's something I'm kind of keeping my eye on. But this is supposed to go till the 23rd or so of April. So we have some time to see if we're going to be violent to the upside or if we're going to kind of go sideways. Because if we go sideways, I think we could continue down a little bit more. But again, we're right at the green power law core of the power law. Like Bitcoin's right where it needs to be. Forget about the news, forget about all the stuff that's going on. Don't necessarily have to look at the charts every day, although I like to. But we're right where we need to be. So we can take a deep breath and just kind of relax. What else did I want to do? Also wanted to pull up, yes, The global M2 money supply days offset. We got this from Colin Talks Crypto on X as well. He made a great video outlining this, but this is kind of the liquidity, all the money in the system, and it's offset by about 108 days. So more or less, Colin talks about how it takes about 108 days for liquidity and the money in the system to kind of make its way into Bitcoin at least. And there's correlation in math that he does to kind of prove this point. And now it's even clearer to me now, like this little hump, there's a hump right here, there's a hump right here. Like this is matching up pretty good, guys. So I do think, this doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin's going to go to 120,000. It could go higher, it could go lower. But man, this lines up really well. So we could also expect price to kind of go sideways for this up cycle, down a little bit into that next cycle low, on May 8th it looks like. And then that could be the explosive move that we're looking for. So I'm going to continue following this for you guys, but I think it's super, super interesting that it lines up this well. Over to the S&P 500. This also has, from David, a cycle to it. It doesn't necessarily predict or have the perfect price action to it, but there's a general high and low and rhythm to the market, kind of the heartbeat of the market, if you will. And so as you can see, we're kind of in this troughing phase, and we have our resistance line that we want to get above. And I think if the S&P can break out of this and go to new highs, that's going to be good for Bitcoin too. Okay, now we'll look at gold. I think he has some cycles for gold. I got to look at that. But gold's been just making an absolute run, guys. We're at the top of these channels, so we're going to see if we kind of cool off or break out of these channels and continue the upside. I would consider gold a very hard asset as well. Not as hard as Bitcoin. But man, gold is, I think, telling us something. Like it's sniffing out something maybe before it happens. And so I don't know what it is. It's definitely showing our loss of purchasing power, the loss of the US dollar's purchasing power. Both Bitcoin and gold are showing that to us. Especially, we can also look at Bitcoin measured in gold. And again, this is where it's squeezing into this bottom of this channel, into this triangle. It's just showing a lot of squeezy price action. So if we zoom back out to the weekly on this one, again, this is Bitcoin measured in gold. This is what it does. This is what Bitcoin does. It just consolidates in a bowl-shaped fashion, accumulation, and launches to the upside. So I think, we're right where we need to be. We've seen some downside. Gold's been outperforming. But I think we're coming to some sort of, we could fall out of this to the downside. But I think the downside move has to be done. It has to be close to finishing. So again, we're very close, guys, I think, to greener pastures, I'll say. We'll also look at Bitcoin measured in silver. This is another one, and I've kind of adjusted this trend line. I had it like this, and that could still be valid. We could be breaking out and back testing, but then this is our next little resistance line that we want to get above. But I think, using these ratios, we can kind of see what Bitcoin is doing, not just against the US dollar, but against other hard assets. Because I think it's important to measure against other hard assets, because the dollar isn't, I don't think, always telling the truest story, right? Because it can just be created out of thin air. So we'll zoom out on the weekly Bitcoin measured in silver. It's going to look very similar to that gold chart. Looks really good. Just needs a little bit more time. I'm also adding in Bitcoin measured in oil. And this one looks better than Bitcoin measured in silver, better than gold. It's because oil's been kind of dumping, right? So this looks even better. And this could be telling us this is what's the future lies ahead. I don't know. But even right here, you see a little bull flag. That looks good. All right, now we'll look at MSTR. Whoa. All right, guys, so MSTR, we had a little bit of a scare the other day. We fell out of our channel that we know and love. And again, these are just lines that I put on the chart. You'll probably see these channels elsewhere on X, on YouTube, wherever. But they're just lines on a chart. They're kind of guidelines. They don't necessarily always have to hold. It's great if they do. If they fall out of the channel, that could mean more downside. I'm not necessarily so sure, but I like to have them on my chart. It kind of gives me confidence that, hey, there is some sort of support here, right? Outside of the Ichimoku cloud or the moving averages. But we can kind of think of these as general zones for price to kind of hold the line. I'll also throw on this indicator again, the global money supply, and instead of 108-day offset, I think I had this at like 70. And this starts looking pretty good too. It's not perfect, but here you have your hump in MSTR, you have your hump in the global money supply. It doesn't necessarily match up over here as much. And it kind of does. But so this makes me think, yeah, we may have a little bit more sideways chop and kind of bounce around under this resistance line and in these channels. But this is like, I don't know, it's pretty good. It matches really well. So that's at 70 days offset. I'm gonna put it back on 108 because I like lining that up with Bitcoin. And we'll take that off of our chart. And we'll look at MSTR measured in Bitcoin. And we'll zoom out for this one too. So this is now back on the monthly. So remember Bitcoin measured in gold or oil, Bitcoin measured in silver, Bitcoin measured in gold. Well, here's MSTR measured in Bitcoin, right? A lot of lines, a lot of color on this chart. But I mean, we've rounded out ever since MSTR started accumulating Bitcoin. It looks like an accumulation pattern, right? So we'll zoom into the weekly, enhance. And again, these are guidelines, right? They're not set in stone, but you'll see like a lot of the moving averages and the Ichimoku cloud will be following this bull curve, right? So there's some sort of support lines in here. We'll continue to enhance onto the 3-day. Looks pretty good. We'll enhance to the 2-day. Looks really good. We'll enhance onto the 1-day. Looks really good, right? So it's just kind of taking time here. It's broken out of this descending trend line here. We still want to get above this green one, and we want to do so kind of staying in this accumulation zone, right? These bulls. Bitcoin likes to do these accumulations on the higher time frames against other hard assets. MSTR looks to be doing something similar against Bitcoin. I think that's very, very powerful. I'm not going to go into the smaller time frames because I think this is clear for us right now. So now let's look at MSTR measured in gold. We'll go out to the weekly on this one. Here we go again. This is another accumulation pattern that we're seeing. MSTR. It's gearing up, I think, for an expansive phase. This is at the top right-hand corner. If you guys follow Koosh on X or on YouTube, he is the best at talking about Elliott wave, Wyckoff, accumulation patterns. Like, he knows what he's talking about. And so, we're consolidating at the upper right-hand corner of this cup and handle, essentially. So I do think we're posed for higher prices. And so we'll enhance to the daily. And again, there's this hump of the money supply. I think we're close, guys. I think we're close. We're retesting this zone. Last but not least, we'll look at MSTY. MSTY is still kind of holding up. It's kind of fallen off a little bit. This is the income generation ETF, so this pays out a monthly dividend. If we adjust for those dividends, if we reinvest them back into MSTY, this is kind of the chart we get. We're nearing a breakout, I think. And MSTU, just a kind of a fun thing I'm tracking alongside these, but MSTR is really what we care about. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for me today. We'll end on the Bitcoin rainbow wave, as we always do. This is what we're dealing with. So I think we just got to trust the process, let price action do its thing. We're right where we need to be. We're squeezing. I think we're close to higher prices. Drop me a like if you guys found this helpful. I'll see you in the next one.